So I originally started there as a paralegal, and that role got revised into one of a legal engineer because, again, due to the true realities of the day-to-day responsibilities under the role, we didn't do any traditional legal work. For the most part, I was working with software, contracting tools, so tools that essentially help you extract and maximize the value from these contracts. So a lot of my experience in the last 3 years has been with Summize, and I've seen the length and the breadth of these tools. I've seen what they're capable of, the things that teams and businesses are able to achieve when they utilize them to the fullest. So a little bit more about my background. I studied law for about 7 years. Moved to left
It's like you
Ghana.
are now.
Is that Hamid? Oh, it's okay. It's okay. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, so I studied law for about 7 years and then got into Summize, and that pretty much changed my trajectory. But my first experience with legal technology was in my final year of school, and I managed to secure an internship with a legal tech startup based in Switzerland. And that pretty much put me on this trajectory to pursuing a career in legal tech. But that's just by the way. Guess if everyone here is ready, I can walk you through the agenda for the day, and then I hope you strap yourselves in for a fun ride. Again, this is going to be super high level, light touch, nothing too in depth, but enough for you to get an understanding of these tools and the ways in which law firms and businesses can benefit from them. So I'm going to share my screen now. Please let me know if you're able to see this. Is that okay?
Not yet. I can't see yet.
Okay. Can anyone at all see it? I believe I'm showing my screen.
No.
No. Okay. Let me try again then.
Yeah, I think I can see now.
Oh, just when I terminated it.
Yeah. Technology.
Okay. Actually, okay. Let me try one more time. There we go. Yeah, if it comes up, just let me know and then we can jump straight into it. That's okay.
No, I haven't seen it yet. I don't think anyone else can see your screen.
Oh, that is weird. It says it's sharing though.
Yeah.
It's sharing now on my end.
Yeah, I can see now.
Okay, that's awesome. All right, so we're all here today to understand more about CLM. So as expected, we will start off by defining what it plays and, not just modern businesses, but particularly law of the workshop. I'll also take you through a live demo of a product functionality, essentially showing you an automated workflow which encompasses the entire contract lifecycle. And then we would have time for question and answers at the end. So, all right, we can get straight into it. So when we talk about contract lifecycle management, I think that takes our minds to contract, being the legal professionals that we are, also the people involved in the legal tech space. I think even as an ordinary person, it goes without saying that, contracts play a really critical role in society. You think about purchasing a house, opening a bank account, purchasing a phone, even when you go into a shop to purchase a set of items, goods, you enter into an agreement of sorts, and all of that is underscored by the contract, okay? So the idea of CLM was essentially born out of a problem that was identified with contracts. People were struggling to manage not just the volume, but also understanding what these contracts contained, right? So out of that problem, one of the solutions that was born was the centralization of the storage, okay? So creating a centralized storage for these contracts, making sure that these contracts weren't a black box such that people would know not just what they contained, right, but also be able to easily access and retrieve them. So over time, these the people who had these contract management solutions ideas, they began to think of the various stages, contracts go through, and the ways in which they could serve them, right? And then we started adding the sophistication was entered into the fray. We started adding the bells and whistles here and there, and then implementing some fundamental things that would essentially change the way people handle contracts. So that being said, you can think of CLM, or Contract Lifecycle Management, as the systematic process of overseeing and controlling every aspect of a contract throughout its entire existence, right? So essentially, it covers all parts of a contract's journey, from the stage it's created to review, to analysis, to approval, execution, and then finally active management and storage. Okay, so how the ways in which the contracts are stored and the ways in which they're managed, ensuring that the parties who have entered into these agreements are able to maximize the value of these agreements. So the overarching goal of the tools that make this process effective, when you think about the goals they have for law firms, or the things they try to sell to these law firms, is essentially to holistically improve efficiency and reduce the legal and financial risks associated with contracts, and help them focus on accelerating revenue, focus on the more substantial tasks at hand, right? So its true value lies in its ability to provide end-to-end coverage, and address the various challenges that a law firm or a business would have, when handling contracts, across different phases, right? So rather than just focus on one stage of how a contract is interacted with, it looks holistically at you think about how the contract is created, and then how it's stored eventually, and even the ways in which we go about negotiating, reviewing, and analyzing the contract, and even approving, its contents. So today, CLM tools are designed to, standardize these processes across a firm and a business, by implementing workflows and guardrails around these individual stages of the contract lifecycle. All right, so there are a number of core objectives of CLM, right? Of these CLM tools, right? And these objectives are vital for effective, contract management, but chief of them are the ones that I have displayed before you currently. So you think about centralized storage, which is centralizing the storage of all contract-related documents, which makes them easily accessible and manageable. And then you look at compliance, you're trying to enhance compliance, with both internal and external, like internal policies and external regulations, which is really critical in today's, legal climate, given the amount of risk that goes into contracts these days. And then you look at the automation of key processes, so trying to reduce the manual processes and the effort that goes into procuring, not just procurement, but like seeing a contract through from point A to point D in the life cycle. So we're trying to reduce those manual efforts and improve the overall efficiency of contracting, right? And then you look at the performance assurance, okay, which is ensuring that these contracts are performed according to their terms. So what do these contracts often contain? I mentioned the black boxing of contracts, not knowing what's within them and where they can be found, right? It's really important that the owners of these documents understand what you're dealing with, and at all times will be able to act accordingly. So, and we also look at the value extraction, which is to facilitate the extraction of maximum value from these contractual agreements. So essentially, it's all of this comes together to ensure that firms are able to focus on the important work, by accelerating a lot of the processes that goes into their day-to-day operations. Right. So you look at these objectives, okay? I mentioned previously centralization with storage, automation, compliance. These objectives, they underscore the fundamental pain points people often experience with traditional contract management methods, right? I mentioned the black boxing of contracts. Again, this is the third time. Contracts getting missing, and just the lack of visibility around the contract portfolio. You think about how things get lost in inboxes and spam, junk mails, the traditional file cabinets, dockets. You don't know where you can find them. They could have been lost in a fire, amongst other things. You look at version control issues where you don't necessarily know what or which version is the most current and accurate of a contract. These things are really important because when you're representing a client, you wouldn't want to contract on terms that would adversely affect their positions, right? And then you also think about, tracking obligations and managing renewals, things like renewal dates. When you consider clauses like auto renewal clauses, you wouldn't want to put your clients in a predicament where you fail to act on a renewal date on time, amongst other things. And then just essentially tracking your obligations, knowing what is required of you under your contractual obligations, right? So by providing a unified platform, right, we are able to automate, the repetitive tasks that transpire in this process. And by embedding compliance checks, CLM tools directly tackle these challenges, the common problems that are associated with, contract management today. So you can think of the CLM tool as a conductor, or even as a music producer, putting all these stems together to make an award-winning hit record. Okay, so now we can think and talk about the benefits that CLM offers. So because of centralization, compliance, automation, a lot of the times when CLM is being spoken about in public spaces, or when you look around the discourse online and in the legal tech spaces around CLM, it's automation happens to be one of those buzzwords, and it just brings my mind to the benefits that the tools offer as a whole. Like when you go in to adopt these tools, what ways would you find your firm being transformed, or what ways would you find your business being transformed? And chief of them happens to be the significant improvement to efficiency and productivity just by automating a wide range of quotidian tasks. So talk about the day-to-day things that tend to suck up so much time from your paralegal team. Just by automating some of those processes, you find huge strides being made, allowing those teams to focus on the more substantial work. So we talk about stuff like the initial creation of contracts using templates, and the routing of these contracts, through predefined approval workflows, the management of these contract renewals that I mentioned earlier. So when you have a tool that takes over these time-consuming activities, you find CLM freeing up, valuable time for the legal professionals to focus on the work that truly demands your attention, right? And then you also look at the enhanced compliance and risk management capabilities that these systems, enable businesses and law firms to do, right? So by standardizing the language that goes into their contract using these templates, these self-serve templates, you are able to effectively manage the approval process, by using conditional sequential tasks, and also ensuring adherence to internal policies and also external regulatory requirements. You're also able to diligently track, the evolving regulatory requirements all within your system, so long as you keep it updated, right? And then you can also maintain a comprehensive audit trail for all the interactions and all the iterations, of a contract. So if it's gone through a number of stages, I don't think I've mentioned this yet, but when you look at the contract negotiation phase, right, more on that shortly when we get to the stages of the life cycle, you see that you think about the negotiation process where you have to redline and revise, ensuring that you reach mutually agreeable terms, right? So through CLM tools, you're able to enhance these risk management and compliance capabilities, and it just ensures that you have a comprehensive, singular source of truth, which happens to be the CLM tool. And then you think of another significant advantage, one that has been, echoed throughout this presentation thus far, is the centralized storage and the visibility. Above all things, when you have a central repository within a CLM system, it serves as a singular source of truth, right? Your one-stop shop for all things contracts, right? Ensuring that they're easily accessible, not just by one team, but cross-departmentally. You have other people, other stakeholders in the contracting process who are easily able to retrieve and access these documents. And also, like I said, avoiding the black box and knowing what these contracts contain and the ways in which you can extract value from them, right? So this improved visibility, amongst other things, it improves and fosters better collaboration across various divisions of the firm, which redounds to more informed and strategic decision making. And then finally, you just can't discount it. You just can't discount this. This is just the cost savings, through the optimization of all these workflows, implementing all these mechanisms. You're able to optimize the terms of your contracts and ensure that the best possible value is derived from them. You look at the key date that could be extracted from your document. You also look at your obligations that are also brought to a super high level, ensuring that you can easily act on them accordingly, and also preventing overpayments. Once you have a reliable record of the payment terms on which you are contracting. This is just to give you an example of the ways in which, businesses can end up saving a lot of money, and just by implementing these tools, which again helps them to accurately track, amongst other things, financial obligations, and then just reduce a lot of the petty and costly errors that often happen due to, manual or human efforts. All right. So I think at this stage we can transition to the stages of the contract lifecycle. I just want to show you this quickly before I switch to the demo section. All right. So this is a more granular view of the contract lifecycle you saw earlier. So you look at the initiation stage, identifying the need for a contract. What terms are required in here? You think about how it's going to be authored, drafting, negotiating, exchanging drafts with the counterparty, going through the approval workflows, and then finally, once you've reached those mutually agreeable terms, you execute the contract, and then that signed contract is then securely stored and archived within your centralized repository. And then from that point onwards, you can actively manage, you can track and monitor your contract's performance. You have a high-level overview of all the key terms that have been extracted, and then if necessary or required, you can decide to extend or terminate the contract.
Yeah, Ian, while you're switching, just trying to give you a break while you're switching to the demo. So
yeah,
just a quick one for those who missed the beginning. Thank you for joining. I mentioned at the beginning that this session is our first that we are hosting at the back of hosting to Legaltech Hangouts, which a few of you or most of you were there last year in the first edition that we did. One of the key things that came out of the community is that we needed to learn or know more about some of these legal tech tools. So we brought Ian, who has been working with a CLM company for 2 to 3 years now, been at the helm of contract tools for a while. So he's walked us through quite a very theoretical part of contract lifecycle. And I think this is the fun part. So if you have any questions, like Jalila put in the chat, please raise your hand or leave a question in the chat. If you do not also understand some of the things that Ian has already shared at the beginning of this call, please feel free to put them again or bring him back to it. The goal or the objective behind this session is to get a feel or very high level of how a contract lifecycle management tool looks like. Obviously, Summize is a very big company. He can't walk you through the entire software, but the feel of it will let you understand how CLM tools are being run these days. I'll come back in the end to talk more about some of the good stuff that we have planned. But Ian, back to you again.
All right, thank you. Before I proceed, I just want to confirm, can everyone see Summize?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you. So just to give you an overview, so this is the Summize product. This happens to be our web app, the chief product, which our customers use and have implemented into their automated workflow. So here you can see our repository, right, which gives you a high-level overview of, again, the total number of contracts currently stored. Red flags, this would be red flag clauses that have been extracted from all the documents stored within the repository. And then this also gives you, if you look at the widget here, it shows you upcoming calendar dates. Again, these are dates that have been extracted from the contract. And then a total of calendar events that have been extracted from the document within the repository. But for this demo, I want to take you through a typical review use case where a contract needs to be reviewed. How can we get it from, again, the initiation stage through to the final stage where we actively manage? We've secured the deal, it's closed, and then we can put it to bed and then actively manage it from that point onward. So I'll probably be assuming a number of roles. So say, for example, I'm a law clerk and I need to, pass on a contract to the paralegal team for review, right? I have access to Summize. Where do I start from? This is how it would go. So I'll access requests, and over here I can see my request table. Essentially, any request that has been generated by me would appear within this page. But I want to create a new request, so I select that, select review, then I can enter a friendly request name. So in this case, I'll probably be submitting an NDA between a company called Apple and Purse and say Fun Milk Ghana, right? So I select that, and then I probably put the NDA in there. So depending on the naming convention that your firm employs, you would name the request as such. And then because it's an NDA review, third-party NDA that come from the other side, I select the relevant template, and then I have a template question which needs to be answered to proceed. So does this require approval from a senior partner? Let's say yes, and then we continue. So here I have the option of now uploading the document that needs to be reviewed. Add file. You probably can't see the model, but if you can, then that's good. Select my document, place it in there, and then I submit my request. So this document has now been uploaded onto Summize and is currently being processed. Now, what is going on in this processing phase? The key clauses are being extracted. The key dates that have been pre-configured are being extracted as well. And you can, if I take you to the see the request information, just gives you some metadata around the request. And then I have a tab here for the tasks. So I can see the automated tasks that have been created as part of the workflow. So because I answered yes to a partner needing to approve this document, a task has been created for him as well. Again, I said I'll be donning many hats. That's why you can see me as the assignee for these tasks. So the partner has a task. The paralegal team also have a task that needs to be completed in order to push the document into the next phase. And also you can see we have a PDF viewer incorporated as well, where you can review the document and its provisions. If I go to the clause summary, it's still being processed, but once it's done, you see all the key clauses, right, that have been pre-configured and extracted from within the document. All right, so now we've gone through initiation, we've gone through our first drafts. Now we've gone into a period of negotiation. And as you can see, we have statuses that can be employed as well to understand the stage at which the contract is at, right? So the paralegal team needs to, do some redlining, right? What can they do within Summize to redline? Do they have to download the document out of Summize? That won't be necessary because we have an integrated word editor extension, which allows you to open the document in an extension of Microsoft Office Word, right? So I click that and then confirm and then start an edit session. And once this loads up, I'll be able to switch my word editing mode from editing to reviewing, essentially to redline the document. So what you can see, again, there's a bit of technical knowledge, but MS Word Online and MS Word Client, they vary in functionality. So if you have stuff like a locked Word document, you wouldn't be able to open it over here. All right, so just something worth bearing in mind, but I just thought I could net out a bit. All right, so I'm redlining this contract. I want to switch my mode to reviewing. That way I can make any changes. So if I want to make any changes to confidential information, I can propose those changes. Again, if the partner is doing his approval process, you can also check my red line changes and then also leave comments for me or any other member of the paralegal team to review and act on accordingly. So I don't need to make any changes at this point, but for the purpose of this demo, assume that I've made changes. Once I'm done, I can then exit the word editor, right, and return to Summize and then save a new version. So when I save a new version, that will then be captured on here in Summize, but I'll just cancel it for the purpose of this demo because there's no need to. So I saved the new version, and then that shows you the singular source of truth method where you have a contract going through various iterations. Once this page loads up, I don't know why it's stuck at the moment, but I'm demoing from my staging environment, so it can be slow at times. So you'd have the version history record here, which shows you all the iterations of the document. You can currently see that I'm working from one that was generated at 7:27 earlier today. So once you've done your redlining, internal redlining, and it's all good, you as a paralegal can then complete your task. The partner that has done his revision as well completes your tasks. So we do that. One task completed, another completed, and then you can switch the stage to negotiation with third parties. So probably at this stage, you would have downloaded the document and then sent it out to the counterparty, right? But if they're okay with the revision you've made, then you can quickly just move the contracts to ready for signature, right? Or if they come back with new changes, you can quickly upload that by using this function over here, which allows you to upload a new document to replace or to create a new version, right? And then once you're confident you've reached mutually agreeable terms, you can then move the contracts to ready for signature. And I believe at this stage, the clause summaries have been generated, so you can see automatically extracted from the document. You have the term of 1 year. So if I click that, it will point me to the relevant section of the document where the term is specified. All right. So I'm confident with the changes. All parties have mutually agreed to terms. We now want to execute the document. So I click sign, and then we have integrated e-signature methods. So the likes of DocuSign, Adobe Sign, incorporated into the product, so we can send documents to those platforms for signature through Summize, right? So I select my e-signature method. I can also select the version of the document I want to send to the counterparty. So once I select that, click continue, and I can also configure where I want the signed document stored within my repository. So I select a folder. I want this to go into mutual NDAs. So mutual, select a contract type. Now this contract type is the record against which the document is stored within Summize. The contract type also determines the clauses that are extracted from the document. So really powerful tool there. So I select NDA. Since that's my desired contract type, I can then set a status. In this case, this is a final signed sealed document, or at least expected to be that. So I set that. And then if I want a relevant party to be notified once this document is executed, I can assign them here. So if you wanted to go out to a group or to a specific user, that can also be configured, but that's not necessary. So then I click send to DocuSign. And at this stage, what we will do is redirect you to your signature provider, right? So if you've integrated your DocuSign account, we now shift to DocuSign's interface, and then you can customize your envelope. And by customizing your envelope, this is you inserting the relevant signature fields to cover, let's say, name, title, and the actual signature of the signatories. So I'm currently in my DocuSign environment. Click continue. and I can now prepare my envelope. So, Michelle, I'm going to need you for this one. I'm going to assign you, I'm going to mark you as a recipient as well on this document. So,
Yeah, of
let
course.
me put myself in there. And actually, could you remember what your email is again?
I'm putting it in the chat. So Michelle at legaltechlounge.com.
No.com. That's correct. All right, Michelle. All right, awesome. Needs to sign. So this is me customizing the envelope, adding the recipient, and at this stage, I will now. Oh, I actually mixed it up. My bad. That's terrible.
Yeah, copy and paste it. Oh, right.
Yeah, don't worry. On top of it. Okay, so now proceed to the next stage where we customize the envelope. Finally, so you can see the document in view, and now I can look at the signature fields and then slide them in. So this is me configuring my signature, representing Fan Milk. Put my name in there as well, then my title. Then I can switch to Michelle, put his fields in there as well. Name, title. Just put this over here. And then probably want a signature date as well. Here we go, for him. So now I send, and at this stage, the envelope is now being sent to him. Because I'm a signatory, I have the option of signing now. So Michelle would shortly receive his as well. So I can now go into DocuSign and execute a contract on behalf of my client, for myself. And we can start, so you can see my name's already filled out, my title as well, must have coined, just insert my signature, click finish, and that's the document signed on my end. So at this stage, once you've signed the document, you can now return to Summize. And the good thing is, in the e-signature panel, we track the progress of the request. So you can see once the document is sent out for signature, it's now locked. That means you can't make further changes. You can't make any amendments to it. This is the stage at which, the mutually agreeable terms have been arrived at, and we have a signed, sealed, and delivered contract in waiting. So I can still see the status of the request is still in draft. We have a polling system that automatically checks for updates on these signature requests every hour, every 20 minutes, depending on who your CLM provider is. The wait times or the cadence may vary, but in this case, I can always manually check for updates. And knowing that I've signed, I can see that it's still in progress. I've signed on my end, but it still indicates that Michelle needs to sign. So, Michelle, I guess we're all waiting for you to sign the document.
For some reason, it hasn't hit my inbox yet, so I think maybe we can proceed.
Okay, so there was one key bit I actually wanted to show you, because once it's actually signed, we then provision a link for you to view the document within your repository. But I can draw from some previous examples that I've done earlier today. So we have...
Oh, Ian, I think I can sign now for you.
You can sign now? Oh,
yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. All right, so let's get back into it.
But whilst I'm working on the signature, I think there was someone who raised his hand, Deladom. I don't know if you have, or you still have your question. You can unmute yourself and ask now. Deladom, or maybe I didn't catch your name properly. Oh, he said it was a mistake. Okay, that's
okay. Okay, no problem.
Sorry, Ian, 1 second. Tracy in Cancer has a question. She says, please, I would like to know if this is an app or website, and also whether it is accessible to anyone or only your company.
So it's a SaaS product. So it's a software service product. So you have to pay to use it. But because I'm an employee, I have access to it to use, and again to demo for the purpose of this workshop. But essentially, you'd have law firms and legal in-house counsel, in-house teams looking to use these products to scale up their internal processes, implement new workflows, and essentially save time and money on the more substantial tasks in their day-to-day.
Okay, thank you. Tracy, I hope that explains it to you. I think just a second question to you, Ian. I think one of the bigger, and on the back of whether this is an app, I don't know if Summize has an app in the roadmap, whether, because I've seen a few CLMs create an app where people can access it on mobile on the go. So I don't know if Summize has something in there. You can broadly speak about how it works between mobile and web, but if Summize doesn't, that's absolutely fine.
No, at the moment, the functionality is limited to the web application and the integrations we use. So Summize takes and believes in the integrated approach where we don't want to disrupt your means of working. Instead, we would come to your existing tech stack. So we know that legal teams like to use Microsoft Word, Outlook, Gmail, Slack, Teams. So we have integrated apps, add-ons, and add-ins for these applications that, again, allow you to leverage the web app functionality. All right, so I hope that at the moment, we don't have a mobile app, but the functionality is limited to the web app and our integration suite.
That's fine. I think you can proceed. I have signed now.
Okay, you signed. So yes, so Michelle signed. We can see that the status automatically updated. It changed. Also see we can see a timestamp of when the recipients completed their requests. And then now that it's signed, I can now view the final document within the repository. All right, so I just click that button and then I'm redirected to my repository where I can then see the document. And again, all the extracted clauses, all the information. And now I have a signed, sealed, and delivered NDA, between two parties. Again, staging up is taking a while to load, so forgive me.
No worries. And yeah, please, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat or raise your hand. I think Ian has gone through quite a lot. So if you've missed anything or you want clarifications, you can still ask, and I'm sure you'll be happy to go back to it.
Okay, so signed contracts. We have my signature, Michelle's, and that's essentially the contract agreed. So we're now in the storage phase. We're now having to actively manage the application. So if there are any additional tasks that need to be created around this agreements, that can be configured here. Again, I think I forgot to highlight the conversation functionality, which allows you to, again, collaborate with other stakeholders or other relevant persons or other persons relevant to the agreement in question. And then when we come to extracting the value, we have everything, the key terms that you, your firm or your client or your team would want to see from these agreements. Again, at a super high level, the clauses have been summarized. And the good thing is, these clauses, they leverage AI functionality to summarize them. So if you can see the open AI summary here, if I had a long paragraph, a large block of text that was extracted as a result, I could leverage this to rephrase and rewrite the summary in a fitting manner. Okay, so that's my clause summary as well. If I want to create additional calendar events pertinent to the agreement, add event, add termination event, you can see there's a past date here and it was extracted from the expiry date. So in other words, a contract we just signed is actually out of date, but that is okay. And that about covers the review, the automated review use case that, again, a lot of our customers have benefited and extracted value from. So we've seen the contracts go through the various phases, straight from the initiation, the need arose, the contract was drafted, we negotiated terms, it was approved by relevant stakeholders, eventually signed, and now securely stored within the CLM tool. And from that point onwards, we can actively and proactively man and monitor our performance according to the terms. And if need be, we can decide to terminate or renew the contract at the relevant time. And that brings me to the slide. In conclusion, when we think about, when I want you to depart from here thinking about the ways in which CLM tools can benefit not just the business, but particularly a law firm, because I'm guessing a lot of you are budding, legal professionals. You want to insert yourself into either the legal technology industry or trying to qualify practice as a solicitor and barrister. These products are actually changing the way in which the firms operate, because at bottom, the firms are actually businesses. They need to accrue revenue, amongst other things. And when you think about any other job, like, we're all in it to essentially make a living, and to make money. So when you think about the way, when you start to think about the ways in which you can save money, not just for your business, it leads you to actually proving, yourself as a valuable asset. All right. So when you get to understand the value these tools, present and provide, it allows for you to, campaign for adoption and also campaign for transformative ways of improving or increasing the business's earnings, right? So I guess, just think about the way these tools are indispensable, and how pertinent they are in today's climate, because law firms are benefiting from them, businesses are benefiting from them. And because of, the strides made in the land of AI, AI has actually come to transform the way in which CLMs work. Because before, one of the major criticisms with these systems was that the time to value was so long. You try to implement a CLM tool and it just takes so much of your time. It's so long to implement because people weren't ready to use it. People were in doubt about the ways in which it could benefit them. But AI has actually come in to do a lot of the heavy lifting and even transform the sector a lot more. So there's a lot more to learn. There's a lot more value that can be attained. And when you look at these benefits, it just shows you that things are trending in the right direction in the world of CLM. Right. So I guess we can take some questions now.
Yes, thanks very much, Ian. If you have any questions, you can raise your hand. Ian, I have a question. I will ask a question. But if people have questions, they can raise their hand. If you want to put in the chat, you can do so. Ian, my question was on version control. So actually, I have two questions. So I don't know if you went through version controls. I might have missed it. Because this is one of the things lawyers go through a lot, knowing what sort of version, at what point did we change this and all of that. Is this something that you can show us again, or you can talk us through how they work in CLMs?
Oh, I did show it, but I didn't actually make the change to properly show it, for the sake of time. But I can quickly do that. Okay, so let's take this Apple and pears contract, for example. If I want to create a new version of it, I can do it in two ways, right? Actually, at this stage, it's I think we're looking at it in the repository, but I want to show it to you from the requests section. Right, so if I view the original requests, oh no, it's already been signed, so I can't do that. Okay, then let's. I guess I can talk you through it then. It's much better that way.
Yeah.
Because this has already been completed. Right. So we have a version control log over here, which again timestamps who created the new version and when it was created. So with regards to version control, each time you open the document in the Word editor or you have a new version, that needs to be captured within your version history. You can either again, open in the Word editor, or you could just upload that new version. And each time that's done, we reprocess the entire record. So we capture all versions within this log here. And you can, I don't think I showed this earlier, but we have a history log which also captures every single interaction that's been had on the contract. So in terms of accountability around the contracting process, you can see each person that's at one point or another had an interaction with the agreement. So you have two ways of consulting or understanding the ways in which, verifying the versions that have been created. The entire record will be available here for you to choose. And then once a new version is created, the previous version becomes read-only. In other words, you cannot make any changes to it. Right? You cannot make any changes to the clause summaries. You can't make any changes to the calendar events are different. It's a completely different component because it applies to the entire record. But for any custom fields, I don't think I touched on that, but the custom fields are variable fields that could be attached to the document record. All of these will be fixed based off the version control. So each clause summary that's generated would vary from, if it does vary from the previous one, then you'd have the previous one stored and then a new one generated. So each time a version is generated, the previous version becomes read-only. It becomes read-only. But the good thing is if you need to refer to a previous version, you can always download it because everything is stored within the record. So again, we go back to the point of the centralized repository being a singular source of truth. It just helps you avoid all those problems and also hold your team to account. I think you're on mute, so can't hear you.
Thanks very much, Ian. I think that was very clear now. But unfortunately, I have another question. But
follow up.
Let me ask if other people have questions. So, if anyone else has a question, please feel free to unmute yourself. There's nothing like a dumb or bad question, so you can ask. If it's a very basic contract question you want to ask, please feel free to raise your hand or mute yourself to ask. I think we have 2 or 3 minutes until we let Ian go. But Ian, my last question was, if I am new to CLM, one of the things that every lawyer, yes, Tracy, the session is being recorded and we will share a link with people in the community after today. And back to you, Ian. So if I'm new to CLM tools as a lawyer, one of my best tools I use all the time is Microsoft Word. And everyone would work in Microsoft Word, or more recently, people use Google Docs, but lawyers are not used to Google Docs than Microsoft Word. So can you simplify for our people how Summize works or general CLM tools works? Because transitioning from Microsoft Word because there are people who know that you can have a Word plugin on Microsoft Word and still have your CLM flows work. And there are other people who also know that some CLM tools, you have to now bring your Word document into the tool. So can you simplify the distinction between those two for us very quickly? And there's a question in the chat, then we can address that before we go.
Okay. Well, if I'm understanding you correctly, you are trying to understand, you're trying to distinguish between the integrated applications, that is the plugins, and then also the web apps.
Yes.
Thing is, a lot of CLMs would take that approach. Some try, so the big ones I don't want to name drop, so let me not go into that territory. But some of the big dogs, for lack of a better term, would try and rope you into a completely different environment, whereas others try to meet you at the point of your need. So I think I mentioned this earlier with, the rise of AI. You have a lot of AI tools that are changing the ways in which lawyers review their contracts. The CLMs have recognized this and are incorporating this functionality into AI capabilities into their products, and they're doing it via the plugins. So, in as much as they have a separate platform which contains the full suite of their services, they try and take a lightweight, piecemeal, light touch approach to again, deliver a product that fulfills a very, like, a specific need. Like it would meet you at, it will meet you at a pain point, right? And it will really help you ameliorate the effect of a pain point, particularly because if you are struggling with reviews, for example, the word adding plugin means you don't have to always upload a contract into a web application or into a mobile application. You can always work within the tool you use on a daily basis and leverage the tool, leverage the plugin to access the functionality on the full suite. So with AI, there's a new trend in AI, which is the use of agentic AI tools. So you have them essentially configured to do specific tools. You educate them on all your resources, your clause libraries, your databases, your templates, things of that nature. And what the agentic AI does is you feed it a prompt, you give it a task, and then it goes into these resources, right? Grabs the information you need, synthesizes it, and then follows the instructions you've given onto it. So the agentic AI is essentially fulfilling the need of causing these CLMs, it's helping CLMs branch out of just, again, fully disrupting an existing process and then meeting customers at the point of their need. But for that, you go back to one of the major pain points with CLMs, which is the time to value. Because again, if you're trying to upsell to or get an entire company to leverage your tool, you're looking at an employee base of over 100 people who have to stop using Microsoft Word, stop using Google Docs, or whichever native tool they use, and then start working within Summize. It takes a lot of time. It would take a really good stakeholder to drive that change management process. So rather than doing that, and that remains one of the chief selling points for Summize, which is always integrating to where the customer works, going to their Gmail, going to their Outlook, going into Microsoft Teams, going into Slack. That way they can easily, that way the product becomes sticky. They see the need for it. They see why it needs to work, or why they need it to actually go about their work and their business. It's the only way in which you can secure them, essentially.
Thanks, Ian. I think one very last question, which is in the chat from Victor. It says that does all CLM tools have similar features like this? What learnings can a lawyer engage to understand CLM? I'm not sure if this is the right time to mention some of the work, summarize your learning environment, or some people call it an academy or tutorial section.
An academy.
Yeah.
I can drop a link in the chat to our CLM hub if you want to know more about CLM. Summize has a suite CLM hub where you can, essentially get all the information you need from there. So if you really enjoyed this, you can get more information on there, and I'll shortly drop a link in the chat. But a lot of CLMs have the same functions. This was originally in my slide deck, but the essential functions of a CLM spans a centralized repository, automated workflows. You also have the clause libraries and playbooks, right? So these clause libraries will contain all the contract types and all the clauses you want extracted from your document. And then the playbooks would also be for your standard positions, the standard positions you would use when negotiating, with the other party. So just those three are some of the essentials that most CLMs would have. And at the moment, they start adding all these bells and whistles. I think recently, one provider called Contract AI, they released a function, a feature that allows you to, I think it's a tariff, and it allows you to track global tariffs and trade regulations worldwide. These aren't essentials, they're just add-ons, and it would benefit some customers, but not all customers. So it's one of the things to consider when you're in the market for a CLM too, but I digress.
Thanks, Ian. Sorry again, one last question from Tracy. So she says, in as much as CLM is a time management tool, in a situation where there is a technical issue on the website, what is the remedy? I don't know, more like a backup to CLM, because when you get so used to using CLMs and there's downtime, I think two 2 days ago, ChatGPT was down and I could operate for about 7 hours. So what is the what is the backup for CLMs when they are down?
Well, the thing that you rarely ever encounter a situation where the product is completely down. And when you think about the type of things you use the tools for, when you have people leveraging more of your add-ins and your plugins, say for example, they can't generate a request through your Slack or your Teams add-in. If an issue affects, because again, this is me getting into the technical details, if because of there are different components that manage these pieces of functionality, chances that an issue affects Slack and the Slack and the Teams add-in, affecting the actual Summize web app is extremely low. But in the off chance that it does happen, there's not I guess then at that point the SLA is kicking, and that's when you have the support teams actually actively trying to find workarounds. I do this on a day-to-day basis. So when it comes to digging into issues, finding workarounds for customers, that is my bread and butter, and it's a challenge I love wholeheartedly. But for the most part, in the event that the tool crumbles, I guess I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but just know that the SLAs will kick into effect and the providers will do everything within their power to restore services. But chances of that happening is quite slim.
Thanks very much, Ian. I think it's up to an hour now, and you've spoken for 60 minutes or plus. And for everyone who joined late, this was our very first edition of our drop-in sessions ahead of our Legaltech Hangout. We're very lucky to have Ian, who has worked at Summize for maybe 3 years now on Contract Lifecycle Management tools. Contract Lifecycle is something that has been around for a very long time. Maybe within our region, we may not be so used to these tools, but the goal of some of these sessions is to bring these tools closer to us as a community. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this session, in the last 2 years, our community has hosted networking hangouts. We've started a lot of conversations in legal innovation, but I want to use these sessions to bring the tools more closer to people in the community. We are very lucky to have 20 of you or 20 plus people join. Most likely we'll hold another session next month. We've confirmed that our Legaltech Hangout will be hosted again on the 27th of November in Accra. Last year we had 450 of you join. We will share more details as we go every month, but at the moment the date is within the community. We are not making a lot of noise about the dates because we want you within our community to get access and to be able to reserve a seat at the hangouts. Hopefully we'll see you again at the next session. Today was Contract Lifecycle. There's a lot of noise around AI. Maybe we'll have a session on that next month. We don't know. But we are trying our best to do these sessions every month as we lead up to the Hangout in November. There'll be a recording available on our YouTube channel, hopefully, but we'll have to sign that off with Ian and his people at Summize first. And when that goes through, you'll be able to get that on our YouTube channel. There are links that Jalila has put in the chat, joining the community if you are new to this, getting an early bird ticket, and also getting to know more about what we do. We've also had all our Hangout sessions or panel discussions posted or hosted on our podcast account. So if you go on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you find all the Legaltech Hangout panels on there. If you want to go back and relive and listen to them, happy for you to go and listen. But until we meet again next month, thank you to you for joining our session, and hopefully we'll be able to stay in touch. Please check the WhatsApp group because there are a lot of things that Jalila and the team share on the group. If you have any questions, you can always message her. If you want to volunteer for a Legaltech Hangout, please feel free to message her and she'll be able to assist you. And have a good evening and see you again next time. Bye.
We're gonna, guys. Bye.
All right, thank you.